certain moments in life that are so absurd, so ridiculous, that they should only really belong in the movies. I've experienced this phenomenon, which I've dubbed a movie moment, a few times in life, and I'd like to share my favorite one with you tonight. This particular movie moment was in the rom-com genre, and the meet cute happened where you'd likely expect it to, at a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan convention. Now, a little exposition to help set the scene. My dad and I went to the convention and got tickets to see James Marsters, aka Spike, aka one of the best characters on Buffy, perform with his band. We snagged some incredible seats in the front row, and a few minutes before the concert started, this unnecessarily good-looking Englishman asked if he could sit with us. Gazing up at him, I felt like I was Julia Roberts meeting her Hugh Grant for the very first time. And since I was obviously the lead in this movie moment, that meant my father was my quirky sidekick. A Joan Cusack or Judy Greer type, they're both fantastic. And my dad fully embraced his role as my wingman, as he switched seats with me so that I could sit next to the hot English guy, who introduced himself as Paul. After the concert, we got to talking with Paul, and he shared that he was at the convention all by himself. Oh no! And he wanted to see as much of Chicago as possible before returning to the mother country the following evening. My dad said we would be absolutely delighted to give him a tour around town. So he exchanged numbers with our new friend, and Paul promised to reach out if he was able to take us up on our offer. On the car ride home, my dad and I fantasized about me hitting it off with Paul. Maybe he was a prince and I'd marry into the royal family. Or maybe he was some farm boy who lived on the countryside of England and he'd invite me to help herd his adorable sheep. And then after falling madly in love with me, which he would have, he revealed he was indeed a prince. And I ended up marrying into the royal family. It's a movie moment, anything can happen. And these fantasies helped lull us to sleep that night as we waited in anticipation for a text from Paul. And at around 7 in the morning the following day, my dad barged into my room. Guess who just texted us? Yes, showing me his phone. I had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming as I read Paul's message. He wanted to take us up on our earlier offer and get a tour around Chicago. Cue the movie makeover sequence in which my dad and I frantically searched for the perfect outfits to wear on our adventure with Paul. I went with flared jeans, which I promised were in style at the time, a white camisole, and a bright pink shrug sweater, which I wish I could say was in style at the time. My dad went with New Balance kicks, some 90s jeans he still fit in, good for you pops, and a graphic tee he picked up from some brewery in Milwaukee. We were looking good, my friends. Cut to me and my dad arm in arm with Paul as we made our way into the heart of the city. And just like that montage scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, we managed to hit up every iconic spot in Chicago in the span of what felt like a few minutes. One moment, we'd be at the Art Institute looking at paintings by Picasso or Seurat, only to find ourselves at the observation deck at the Sears Tower seconds later. Then we'd be at the Bean, only to be at Buckingham Fountain in a blink of an eye. And I could have sworn we attended a Cubs game, a Hawks game, and a Bears game simultaneously. I don't know how it happened. And at every stop in our adventure, my dad would buy Paul a gift, a little memento for him to take back jerseys, Al Capone shot glasses, slices of deep dish pizza. It felt like my dad was giving Paul a taste of the dowry he'd get if he did indeed marry. And at the end of our tour, we escorted our friend to the Blue Line to make sure he made it onto the train back to O'Hare safe and sound. And while we were waiting for the train, Paul gave me a quick peck on my cheek. Oh my God. Did our plan work? Did Paul actually fall in love with me? But my excitement was short-lived as I watched him give my dad a big hug. And while embracing my father, I heard him say, "Thank you for everything. I'll never forget this day, and I'll never forget you." And though I could hear this, I knew that if we were in a real movie, only my dad and the gentle viewers would be privy to Paul's sweet words. I couldn't believe it. Paul had fallen for my dad, my wingman. It was a classic rom-com bait switch. And as the train pulled into the station, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the car window, and I saw that I wasn't Julia Roberts after all. I could have sworn I looked like the love child of every quirky sidekick that came before me. And I couldn't even be mad about it, because the bromance between Paul and my dad was so pure and so earnest that even I was rooting for these two crazy kids. A few years later, I was planning a trip to visit England, and I reached out to Paul to see if he'd be interested in meeting up with me. "Will your dad be joining you?" he quickly asked. "No," I clarified, "just me." His next response came a few days later. "Oh, sorry, love, but my schedule's completely booked that week. Please tell your dad I said hello." Maybe Paul was genuinely too busy to see me, though I don't remember telling him when I'd be in England. But a part of me believes that if it was my dad reaching out to see if he wanted to hang, he would have quickly replied with, "Yes, 1,000 times yes. I can't wait to see you again." And as much as it pains me to admit it, their romance would have been a blockbuster hit. And I just have to accept the fact that I was the quirky sidekick in this movie moment. Thank you.